These days, when someone mentions the word virus, we often envision masks, social distancing, and all the other precautions we have come to familiarize ourselves with. Our experience with COVID 19 makes us tend to forget about the other deadly viruses that may harm us. Today, I will be talking about the human immunodeficiency virus, also known as HIV. HIV is part of the genus Lentivirus, while falling under the Retroviridae family. Members of this family fuse their RNA with a host cell, taking control of that host. The host cells of HIV are T helper cells, also known as CD4 cells. These cells are a major factor to the immune system as they help fight off diseases and infections. HIV is formed of a lipid bilayer membrane encompassing two RNA fibers, 15 different types of proteins, and the virus's most recent host cells. This diagram displays the structure of an HIV cell. Notably, the RNA is located at the center of the cell with many different proteins. The knobs on the outside of the viral envelope transmit the virus to the host cell upon entering a human system. These knobs are composed of glycoprotein. After fusing itself to a CD4 cell, the virus takes control over its DNA, copying itself throughout the cell. These copies of HIV are then released into the bloodstream of the infected organism, and the HIV life cycle continues. Once HIV is situated in the body, there are three progressive stages it may attain if not treated. The first stage is known as acute HIV infection. At this stage, the host organism may suffer from symptoms less than a month to 3 months after being infected. These symptoms include fever, chills, rashes, excessive sweating, aching muscles, throat soreness, fatigue, swelling lymph nodes, and muscle sores. During this phase, the virus is at its most contagious as the viral load of HIV in the bloodstream is increasing. This often leads to chronic HIV infection. The person may have zero symptoms as the virus will most likely reproduce in minimized quantities. The infected person's condition may worsen towards the end of the phase, where symptoms become apparent and their viral load re-elevates. Lastly, if left untreated for approximately 12 years, chronic HIV can lead to acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, also known as AIDS. Without treatment, AIDS can have severe consequences on someone's health. The person becomes very infectious as the virus badly damages the immune system, leaving the person more susceptible to other illnesses. People suffering from AIDS tend to only survive 3 years without treatment. In order to transmit HIV from one person to another, it must be passed through certain bodily fluids, such as blood, semen, vaginal fluids, rectal fluids, and breast milk. Some of these fluids are often passed through vaginal or anal sex. The HIV-infected fluids may enter the lining of human genitals, passing the virus from one person to their partner. Another common form of transmission is sharing needles and syringes. The tip of the needle carries blood from one person, which will be injected to another upon a second usage. Additionally, a mother may pass the virus onto her child during pregnancy through breast milk or blood. However, this form of transmission is quite rare today due to medical advancements preventing prenatal transmission. Fortunately, there are ways to prevent transmission of the virus between people. These methods include using protection during sex, such as a condom. In order to increase the likelihood that the condom will not break, the person may lubricate it so that no fluids will pass through the protection. Also, there is a form of medication that can be taken called pre-exposure prophylaxis, or PrEP. This can help prevent transmission of the virus before infection. However, the most effective method to avoid transmitting HIV sexually is abstinence. In order to prevent transmission through syringes, people must be careful not to reuse needles or share them with other people. There are many sites and services that offer clean needles and proper disposal of used ones. If the person is already infected, then these methods of prevention are completely useless to them. However, there is a form of treatment that can be taken to control the virus. Upon infection, the person will forever have HIV and be at risk of passing it on to other people. The only discovered treatment for HIV is in the form of medication. This medication helps lower the viral load of the virus in the bloodstream, increasing the amount of non-infected CD4 cells. Delaying treatment will only worsen the person's chances of living with HIV. Within 6 months of starting treatment, the virus will most likely be controlled. Medical experts continue to advance the medicine around HIV and intend on discovering a vaccine to help combat the epidemic. In terms of past outbreaks, there are no specific periods of time where HIV has overrun society. However, the number of infected people continues to gradually rise since there is no vaccine. Fortunately, the number of annual HIV-related deaths has plummeted due to the new offered treatments. This graph displays the correlation between infected people and related deaths. A scientific conclusion that was made is that HIV was passed from chimpanzees to humans in the late 1800s. That HIV transmission first occurred through hunting the animal and becoming in contact with its blood. It was not until 1984 that they discovered the cause of AIDS was HIV. At the discovery of the virus, many believed that only certain groups could become infected. These groups were known as the 4-H groups: heroin users, homosexuals, Haitians, and people with hemophilia. There were travel bans and other shutdowns in place for those who were HIV positive, but these restrictions lightened as professionals gradually improved their knowledge of the virus and how it is transmitted. Thank you for listening to my informative video on the human immunodeficiency virus.